I was going to take some questions from the audience because I know we haven't got that. We have.
I'm sorry I can't see you. I love seeing your faces.
Brian, about 5 years ago, I was at the University of York, and I got the student union to rename a building there, the Brian Blessed Centre for Quiet Study.
Ah, you're one of those. I've been receiving your letters.
Oh, wonderful!
And you've made this room, haven't you? Is it
Yes.
the temple to the Brian Blessed? Tell them about it.
Basically, there was a building at the University of York that the Students' Union wanted a name for, and myself and the University of York Douglas Adams Society got them to name it the Brian Blessed Centre for Quiet Study. I suppose what I want to ask, Brian, is, has it had a positive impact on your life?
What knowing that's there?
Yes.
Yes. I always think, well, it's there. It's almost like the museum, the railway museum. The Mallard is there, and the Flying Scotsman is there. And so it's very reassuring to know it's there, and that somebody recognises that I can be very quiet and sensitive, as well as very loud, and it's most reassuring. Of all the trains, there was the Mallard, which was wonderful and green, and a blue one as well, like a blue Moby Dick. But the Flying Scotsman, when I was in the village in Yorkshire and the North Eastern Railway, I never saw it. This wonderful Flying Scotsman, this strange green gauge train. And after many years, when I was 50, a man phoned me up and said, "We have a surprise for you." And this is in London. And they said, "Please trust us." And they took me in a car to Hounslow. And they took me into a field with the car, and they opened up this great big shed, great big building, and the doors came wide open, and there was, at last, the Flying Scotsman. It was in this shed. So, in a way, I mean, it's marvellous to think that all those trains are in York. The museums there are wonderful, and York is very dear to my heart, and more so because of this quiet room, which has absolutely intrigued me. Another question, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, in the front there, that gentleman in the front.
Hi there, Brian.
Yes.
I'd just like to firstly, congratulate you for all the work you do for animal charities. And secondly, has there ever been a moment where you've been truly lost for words?
It's incredible. I've never been asked that question. I've been lost for words. I think it's when it was harder for me than climbing Mount Everest. When I was up there, climbing without oxygen, but it was meeting my wife Hildegard Neal. She was in the series Boy Dominic. She's of course Cleopatra in the film Antony and Cleopatra with Charlton Heston, and England Made Me with Peter Finch, and The Man Who Haunted Himself with Roger Moore, and films like this. And she was in this series, and she lived quite close by to Richmond where I was, so I could take her to rehearsals every day. It was Yorkshire Television Boy Dominic, and we got on wonderfully well. She said during one of the conversations, she said, when I was talking about Rocky Marciano, 13 stone, 5.5 pounds, the never defeated heavyweight who beat everybody, Marciano, and I was describing that we are all kind of primitive, that mankind is primitive, and we must encourage it. Tattoos, makeup, I mean, even rings on our penises and in our nipples and God knows what. We are very primitive. But I was describing the immense power of Rocky Marciano, who could defeat the giants made of steel. And I met Marciano. I was a judo third dan black belt, and I wrestled him a bit. It was absolutely marvellous. And she said, "You know, you really are the most primitive man I've ever met." She said, "There is nothing more sophisticated than the primitive. It is the most primitive thing, the most sophisticated thing of all. The true primitive is very, very sophisticated." And we're all primitive. lipstick, makeup, etc. And as I said, tattoos. Eventually the moment came in Masham, in a hotel. I was going to take her out to a dinner in Harrogate, the Forum, and I moved towards her, and I was determined just to kiss her on the lips, and that required more courage from me than climbing Mount Everest. I was lost for words. Another question.
Yes, we've got another question out there.
Just while you were mentioning, while we're waiting for that, you mentioned Peter Finch there, and yesterday I was watching
Yes.
Peter O'Toole tell a lovely story about them once about to be thrown out of a pub, so they thought, well, the best thing to do is buy the pub, which is what they did at 4 a.m. Now, you talk a lot about Peter O'Toole
yes,
in the book. You were at Bristol together with him.
Yes, thank you. I sound a bit serious this evening, ladies and gentlemen. No, it's what I'm receiving from you. There's gravitas amongst you. And I'm not quite seeing you because of this kind of light on my damaged eye at the moment. So, by the way, if you ever give a speech, always make sure you've got good sound and that the lights don't blind you, because you can forget your mother's name. This is interesting, isn't it? But whenever you give a speech. And wet your lips. We feel nerves in the throat and the lips. Many a person at the Royal Shakespeare Company, they've had to abandon a production while they've managed to stop the person's tongue sticking to their lips on a first night. Anyway, what was that? I was going to... Anyway, of course, Patrick Stewart and I were working class boys. He was the son of a milkman and me the son of a coal miner, etc. And Judy Dench was only around the corner, similar background, Judy. All in South Yorkshire, very, very talented, wonderful people. And the impossible happened. Patrick Stewart and I, we applied for a scholarship. It was unheard of, secondary school boys. And we got a scholarship to the Bristol Vic Theatre School. In Wakefield, you see, it doesn't matter how brilliant you are, how talented you are, we all need help. We need good Samaritans, we need some teachers, we need people to help us. And Patrick and I had enormous help. We had huge Yorkshire accents, which we had to lose, but keep our Yorkshire expression, which I have now. The accent's gone, but the expression is there, and so forth, to be natural. So we won a scholarship to Bristol. Unheard of. We went to the Bristol Vic Theatre School. So I had to work very hard for my technique, and so did Patrick as well, and many other people. And in Bristol, you had the University Drama Department, you had the Bristol Vic Theatre School, and you had the Bristol Vic Theatre Company. And you weren't allowed to mix with the company by the school. And they were top professionals. And the leading man was Peter O'Toole. I have never seen acting like that in my life as in Bristol from O'Toole. I mean, his Hamlet, long before he came to London, was devastating. His Shylock was 8 feet tall. And when he fell in the court scene, it was just like the kind of Statue of Liberty falling. In Jimmy Porter, in Look Back in Anger, amazing, great quality of tragedy and comedy, and so forth. And I was in a school production, House of Regrets, playing a Russian admiral, white hair and a white beard. And O'Toole was in the audience, and you couldn't talk to them, you see. And he came backstage and he said, "Hello, Brian, isn't it?" I said, "Yes, I'm Pete. I'm Peter O'Toole." He said, "Yeah." He said, "You work from strength. I work from fragility. Tonight, you worked from fragility." And it was marvelous. National Service? I said, "Yeah, parachute regiment. Rough bastards, the para. They attacked the Irish. I didn't. What were you?" He said, "National Service in the Navy." Is that a problem? And from that day on, we had this competitive nature, physical at times, and so forth. And I did mix with him. And we got on like a house on fire. And once we were running in Bristol from Lee Woods across the suspension bridge into Clifton. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and we bumped into Professor Josephs and Professor Murray. And they'd been to see Sir John Gielgud in The Ages of Man. And they were crying their eyes out. I'm just weeping and weeping and weeping. And they say, oh, it's wonderful. He has such a phenomenal grasp of the verse. It's amazing. You've never heard anyone speak Shakespeare like that. You must go and see him, boys. You must go and see him. You must go and see him. And they walked off. And O'Toole looked at me and said, it's amazing, he said. I mean, they're so enamored with Sir John Gielgud that they fail to realize that you and I are both bollock naked. And O'Toole and I had that kind of relationship over the years. I would say I have never known an actor. O'Toole gets shit press. I can't stand fucking actors' books because they lie so much and they're full of bullshit, kind of pretentious rubbish. You know, I met my very good friend Gene Simmons, and I met my very good friend James Mason. I met Harrison Ford and Pierce Brosnan the other day. We went out for tea together. Fuck off! Shut up! But they don't get into it. And so there's been a lot of crap talked about O'Toole. So I go into a great deal of detail, which I can't now. 50 years friendship I had with him. I've never known an actor be so kind, so generous, and so perceptive about acting. And I've never known an actor be so evil, shitty, and awful. He's the most awful fucking human being I'd ever met in my life. He could be vicious and cruel and a dangerous fighter. He had big, thick veins. He could fight, and so forth. So I was always having to control him. I didn't work with him much when I met him in films, but I had to control him from violence many, many times. He threatened people with death. He was terrified. But yet he had this perception. But if he had a drink, I mean, Oliver Reed, if he had a drink, he had a drink. He was just a roughhouse. Bugger all. Richard Harris the same. But O'Toole came, he was the creature from the Black Lagoon. He came from hell. And he was formidable. But we got on absolutely marvellously. And the story develops with him. Man of La Mancha. I do the film with him, me playing the villain. And we met in that again. And Country Dance and films like that. I'd meet him and so forth. And then eventually I was in Macbeth. I was Banquo. Prior to the production, he rang up. I said, I never considered him my friend. He said, you are my greatest friend. I've never considered him my greatest friend. And so forth. And he rang up and said, I want you to play Banquo. I'm going to do a great production. I want you in long hair and semi-naked and powerful. You'll be a great king as Banquo. And I'm a sick Macbeth. I have all kinds of designs and so. I said, I'll come over because I'm going to tell you what I think of you. I'll come over to Hampstead. And I went to Hampstead. And I got to Hampstead and it's a long story, but I said, I've come here to tell you off. I said, actors have to work so hard to develop their voices, their bodies. Let me explain. Richard Bryars said, Brian, are you not on our side anymore as an actor? You're always doing expeditions, and you're loving that and praising that. Would you, before I die, say something lovely about actors, Brian? So I have to say that I feel that acting is the most difficult and courageous of all arts. And you may disagree. In opera, you can say, well, I've got a sore throat, I've got a cold. In ballet, oh, I've just pulled a tendon, I don't feel so good. In acting, your voice, your face, eyes, nose, mind, imagination, heart, soul is judged. And 90% of the time, you're shot down. And you have to have the courage to go on stage another night or put a foot in front of you, in front of a camera. It requires immense courage. So I went to see O'Toole. I've come to see you, Peter, because I've read in the press how awful you've been to certain actors. As I said, he's the greatest actor at his best than I've ever seen. More than Olivier, more than any Redgrave, more than anybody. Amazing. And I went to his house in Hampstead and I said, I've come here to fucking tell you off. Because you shit on your fellow actors. It's awful. You shit on your talents. People have to work so hard on their voices. They have to work hard on their bodies. You can dance. You can do anything. Your voice is voices within voices. It's so magical that you've got this great fucking gift. And I threw him all over the fucking flat. I threw him over the carpets. I threw him over the sofa, pinned him, held him, smashed him everywhere. Oh, I love you. I love you. You're the only person who faces me. You're the only person who faces me. And I got home after roughing him up very badly. And my wife said, good God, what have you done? I've had Peter O'Toole on the phone. He says you've been beating him up. I said, oh, fuck him, I don't give a toss. Anyway.
You do delightfully describe him as Lord Byron with a knuckle duster.
That's
I think we've almost run out of time already.
I have to say that I have never, ever heard write-ups or read write-ups like he had as Macbeth. You have to understand, he was Lawrence of Arabia. He was fantastic in the ruling class. You should see him in some of his films. Astonishing performances. Out of this world. And they hated his Macbeth. It's a long story, you have to read the book. I itemized every page about Macbeth, and when I eventually did it with him. At the end, the critics murdered him. He was on the stock market. Writers, Macbeth, the stock market in America. When he failed, O'Toole. And then I came back one night, and they'd come in again, the critics. And there was O'Toole in my dressing room. And he was on his knees. And he was weeping. Have you seen what they've written about me? And I said, I think you're dying. I think you're going to die, Peter. I'm sure you're going to die. Come here. And I took him and I rocked him. It's all right. It's all right. And I kissed him, and I kissed him on the lips, and I kissed his eyes, and I stroked him. I said, I'm going to tell the audience to go home. You mustn't go on tonight. Oh, no. I sat him on the sofa, laid him out, and I went down the corridor, and he came after me on all fours. Don't, Brian, I'll go on. I can still go on. And he went on that night. It lasted 6 hours. And when I died as banker, I stayed on the stage just to hold him all the time. So I thought he was going to die any minute. He didn't die. He completed the run, and he had an Indian summer of a career. I've seen people die. I won't go into that 9 jungles. I've seen people die on mountains. I have never seen courage like that. I have never seen courage like that. And I put it in detail in the book.
I'll ask one. By the way, can I say that tonight's signer has, in terms of, it's really taught me a few things, words I haven't seen signed before. So
yes, I mean, look, when I was in Star Wars, George Lucas cast me as Boss Nass, the leader of the Gungans in Phantom Menace. And my army defeats the dark side in the film, and I do the last line in the film, peace! And at one point, I'm standing there as Boss Nass, 20 feet high. There's a Jedi, Luke Skywalker, there's a Queen, and they all kneel in front of me and ask for my help. And I'm this strange Gungan with a face this big, a great giant face. And she says, the Queen, please help us. This is for you, darling. This, not the sign lady. Please help us, Boss Nass. Please help us against the dark side. And I went. And I went. Me so like this. Maybe we can be friends. And George Lucas said, you goddamn fucking mad bastard. That's exactly what I wanted. Did you say fucking mad bastard? Oh! I don't know where to put my face.
Well, that's all. I prepared by having 7 questions. That was too many, it turned out.
You can ask one
we've got one more. Can we take one more question from the
Yes,
audience?
please.
Yes. Can we have that? Wait a moment, just while the microphone gets to. Yep, I think the microphone's just behind you.
Thank you. My question is, in case you can't see me, I'm dressed as Princess Aura. Your experience of Flash Gordon, which has stood the test of time, what's your overriding memory of such a glorious film?
Well, I have to say that of all the films I've done, Flash Gordon, they're going to have a new opening night, BAFTA in November, and a red carpet. So it's been revitalised, been brought back again, because it is such a kind of cult movie. I think Flash Gordon is wonderful because it mustn't be criticised, because I think it has this wonderful comic quality, comic strip quality. It's amazing in style. I was thrilled to bits when I was given the part of Voltan in it, and so forth, and had the most enjoyable film of my life entirely. And I did say that everyone asked me to say Gordon's alive. I mean, even the Queen at Buckingham Palace. I mean, you know, Mr. Best, we watch Flash Gordon all the time, and me and the grandchildren. Would you mind saying Gordon's alive? So I said, Gordon's alive! Thank you so much. So, therefore, about a year ago, I went to number 10 Downing Street for animals, for the elephants and all that. And I'm outside number 10, and they're too early. So I sat opposite in the windowsill, about this long, the windowsill. I'm half asleep, and I felt these hands on my shoulder. There's the Prime Minister. He said, hello, Brian, what are you doing here? So nice to meet you. I'm surprised to see you not being escorted. I just thought I'd walk here. It's such a lovely day. Would you? I said, I can't go in. And I told him what I was doing, because I've got to wait for you to go in. Oh, thank you. Come in. And he made me a cup of coffee. And he took me into the cabinet room, and there was a cabinet. And so I stood on a chair, and on the top of the table, he said, please say it, and there I was. Gordon's alive! And the Prime Minister said, that'll fucking wake the bastards up. And that was the British Prime Minister. But I have to say that in Flash Gordon, there is a marvellous scene in which we attack rocket ship Ajax. And, you know, you see films like Superman and Batman. There's 1 or 2 or 3 men flying, maybe 1, that's all. But there were 4,500 people flying in the scene, my Hawkmen, all flying. And it took weeks, days to get it together. The dynamite, the special effects, the rocket, the monsters, we coming in to attack. And it took ages. And I had this big bazooka. Of course, it's made of cardboard. And they said, right, Brian, are we ready? Yeah, here we go. And so I just said, oh, well, who wants to live forever? Follow me, Flash! Squadron 40, dive! And cut! Brian, we put in the special effects. I've never felt such a tit in all my life. Can you get that?
We will. There's a lovely when talking about your the training that was to lose your Yorkshire accent,
yes,
in which
yes.
the person training you said, "Don't worry, Brian, you will never become artificial." I think you've made sure that you've never achieved that. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Brian Blessing.
It's a pleasure.